In the winter of 1873, Milwaukee, Wisconsin's German immigrant community buzzed with hushed, fearful whispers about 11-year-old Emma Richter. This pale, quiet girl could figure out the day of the week for any date in history in seconds, recall entire conversations word for word after hearing them once, and count the exact number of steps between any two buildings in her neighborhood. What modern science might call an extraordinary neurological condition was, to the people of 1873, either a divine gift or something far darker. But when Emma started using her remarkable abilities to uncover hidden secrets, predict deadly accidents, and describe intimate details of crimes no one else could have witnessed, the community's awe turned to terror. By spring, 3 men were dead, a family fled in the night, and Emma Richter vanished without a trace, leaving only a leather journal filled with numbers no one dared to decipher. Before we dive deeper into the chilling tale of Emma Richter and the dark secrets her brilliant mind exposed in Milwaukee's German Quarter, be sure to follow our channel and turn on notifications. We bring you the most haunting historical mysteries every week, and let us know in the comments what state or city you're tuning in from. These stories happened in communities just like yours, closer than you might think. The residents of Brewery Town didn't realize Emma's gift would unravel a web of lies, betrayal, and murder hidden for nearly a decade, turning her mathematical precision into their community's worst nightmare. Milwaukee's German Quarter in 1873 was a lively enclave of red brick breweries, modest wooden homes, and the constant hum of German and English voices mingling in the crisp Wisconsin air. Nearly 8,000 German immigrants had built their own slice of Bavaria along Lake Michigan, complete with beer gardens, traditional bakeries, and the familiar rhythms of old-world life transplanted to America. Men worked in breweries like Schlitz, Best, and smaller operations that made Milwaukee famous, while their wives tended gardens growing the same vegetables their grandmothers cultivated in the Rhineland. Heinrich and Greta Richter arrived from Bavaria in 1861 with dreams of prosperity and their infant daughter, Emma. Heinrich secured steady work as a brewmaster at Kellner Brewery, a mid-sized outfit supplying beer to the city's thirsty population. Greta took in laundry and mending to supplement their income, working by candlelight long after Emma was tucked into bed in their small, tidy home on Galena Street. The Richters were unremarkable except for their daughter. Born 3 weeks premature during a rough Atlantic crossing, Emma was so tiny the ship's doctor doubted she'd survive, yet she did, remaining slight and pale with large gray eyes that took in everything with unsettling intensity. As a toddler, she rarely cried or sought attention, content to sit quietly in corners, observing and listening to the adult world. By age 4, Emma's parents noticed something unusual. She could recite conversations overheard days earlier, mimicking speakers' inflections and accents perfectly. She counted everything: stitches in her mother's embroidery, steps from their door to the bakery, the exact time between brewery whistles marking workdays. When Heinrich taught her basic math, she mastered concepts with alarming speed, solving problems in her head faster than he could on paper. The German community viewed Emma's abilities with pride mixed with unease. Old Mrs. Brennan, who claimed to recall witch trial stories from her grandmother, made the sign of the cross when Emma's calculating eyes met hers. But Father Koller, the stout Bavarian priest of their small Catholic parish, called Emma's gifts a divine blessing, a child chosen to show God's wisdom in their new world. The winter of 1872 was brutal, with temperatures so low Lake Michigan froze solid for the first time in decades. Brewery workers huddled around coal stoves, their breath visible indoors, while their wives struggled to keep families warm and fed through the long, bitter months. During this isolated winter, Emma's abilities took a darker turn, though no one yet grasped what was coming. She began sitting by the kitchen window, watching neighbors with the same focus she applied to math problems. She noticed patterns, not just in numbers but in human behavior. Mr. Kruger always took 247 steps to the brewery, except on Wednesdays when he took a 284-step detour. Mrs. Fisher hung laundry in a specific order, but changed it entirely when her husband worked late. These observations might have been dismissed as quirks of an odd child, except Emma began sharing her findings in ways that unnerved adults. The shift from curiosity to dread began on a gray February morning in 1873. Emma was eating breakfast while her mother packed her father's lunch pail when she suddenly announced, "Mr. Dietrich won't come home from the brewery today. He'll die at exactly 2:14 p.m." Greta nearly dropped the pail. "Emma, my God, what a terrible thing to say. Why would you think that?" Emma's gray eyes fixed on her mother. "He's been drinking from a small brown bottle for 17 days. Yesterday, he drank 3 times more than usual. His steps were uneven 251 instead of his usual 244. When people change their patterns by more than 10%, something big happens within 72 hours. Mr. Dietrich's pattern changed by 12%. It's simple math." Hinrich, pulling on his wool coat, froze. Johann Dietrich was a known drinker, but no worse than many in the German quarter. The idea that Emma was tracking his habits and predicting his death with calm certainty chilled her parents. At exactly 2:14 p.m., Johann Dietrich collapsed in the brewery's malt room. Dr. Mueller declared heart failure due to chronic alcohol poisoning. Workers noted Dietrich had been acting strangely, drinking heavily and showing anxiety. But what truly unsettled them was the timing. Emma's prediction was accurate to the minute. Word of her prophecy spread like wildfire. Some called it coincidence, but others recalled the pale girl with calculating eyes and wondered what else she knew. The Richters became the subject of whispers and wary glances at church and the market. Father Koller, once proud of Emma's gifts, grew uncertain. When Hinrich sought his advice after Mass, the priest's jovial demeanor turned to worry. "Hinrich, perhaps Emma should spend less time watching Neighbors and more time praying. The Lord gives gifts, but the devil can twist even innocent abilities to darker ends." This suggestion troubled Hinrich, a practical man more focused on brewing than faith. But he couldn't dismiss Emma's eerie accuracy. That evening he sat her down. "Emma, how did you know about Mr. Dietrich?" Her gray eyes met his calmly. "I watch, I count, I remember." Mr. Dietrich's behavior changed predictably. A 37% increase in alcohol over 17 days, with a 20% drop in food intake, causes cardiac stress. I calculated the likely time of failure based on his age, weight, and symptoms. Hinrich felt a chill. His 11-year-old spoke like a doctor, or something more troubling. "But how do you know these details about his eating and drinking?" "I observe everything, Papa, every day, every person, every pattern." Her calm tone and intense eyes unnerved him. "Would you like to hear my other calculations?" Hinrich quickly declined, shaken by the thought of what else she might know. As he tucked her in, he sensed their family stood on the edge of something darker than a child's odd talent. The February snow fell, muffling the German quarter and creating an insulated world where secrets could hide and observations go unnoticed. Emma lay in her narrow bed, her mind processing data and calculating probabilities no child should grasp or want to. In the weeks after Dietrich's death, the community's mood shifted like Lake Michigan's winds. Emma continued her observations, but her parents watched her with growing unease as she sat by the kitchen window, tracking Neighbors with mechanical precision. The child, once their pride, became a source of dread. The brewing community was tight-knit, with men relying on each other for work, wives for companionship, and children playing in the narrow streets. Emma never fit in. While other kids played, she sat alone, counting and calculating. Greta noticed Emma's observations growing more detailed and disturbing. She casually mentioned Mrs. Weber meeting Mr. Kellner secretly behind the brewery on Tuesdays for 6 weeks. or the Schneiders burying objects in their garden every Sunday after church. When asked how she knew, Emma explained she saw patterns and calculated probabilities. "People think they're secret," she said one March morning, buttering bread, "but they follow patterns like numbers. Mrs. Weber says she's visiting her sister on Tuesdays, but takes 127 steps to Mr. Kellner's instead of 349 to her sister's. The Schneiders bury objects 73 centimeters apart in a grid. They think no one sees, but I'm always watching." Hinrich had enough. That evening, after Emma slept, he spoke to Greta. "This isn't right. Children shouldn't notice these things or talk about them so coldly." Greta's hands trembled as she mended a shirt. "I'm scared, Hinrich, not of Emma, but of what people think. Mrs. Brennan crossed the street to avoid me yesterday. Even Father Koller hasn't visited since Johann's death." Their fears were confirmed 3 days later when Emma made another prediction. While helping peel potatoes, she stopped and said, "Mrs. Weber will be found out tomorrow at 11 a.m. Her husband will catch her with Mr. Kellner in the brewery office. There'll be violence." Greta dropped her knife. "Emma, don't say such things." But Emma continued, "Mrs. Weber arrives at the brewery 7 minutes earlier each week for 6 weeks. Mr. Kellner stays 33 minutes later daily. Tomorrow, Mr. Weber will return 47 minutes early because his horse is going lame in its left front leg. I've watched its gait worsen for 11 days. These factors make discovery certain." Hinrich, overhearing, felt dread tighten his chest. "Emma, how do you know about the horse?" "I count its steps past our house. On March 1, it favored its right legs 53% of the time. Today, it's 68%. Tomorrow, the lameness will slow the delivery by 47 minutes. The next day unfolded as Emma predicted. Wilhelm Weber caught his wife Anna with brewery owner Ernst Kellner, resulting in a violent confrontation that left Kellner with a broken nose and cracked ribs, and Anna badly beaten. The scandal shook the community, but Emma's precise prediction of the event spread even faster. The Richters were shunned, friends avoided them, children were kept away, and shopkeepers served them curtly. Hinrich's brewery job grew shaky, with Ernst Kellner banning them from social events. Emma seemed oblivious, continuing her observations and filling her leather journal with numbers, dates, and patterns her parents feared to read. As winter turned to spring, their isolation deepened. Hinrich considered leaving Milwaukee, abandoning their life to escape the fear surrounding Emma's predictions. But she wasn't done. The worst was yet to come. In April, Emma's journal grew thick with complex calculations, charts of behavior patterns, and maps of the German quarter marked with symbols. The community's fear manifested concretely. Children were barred from their street, shopkeepers were cold, and Father Koller avoided them outside church. Dr. Friedrich Müller, the community's doctor, grew curious about Emma's abilities. Trained in Berlin, he saw her condition as neurological, not supernatural. When Hinrich sought his advice, Dr. Müller examined Emma in his Water Street office. She answered his questions with precision, her gray eyes fixed on invisible calculations. "Emma," he asked, "how do you predict events?" "I observe patterns and calculate probabilities from behavioral data. People think their actions are random, but they follow mathematical sequences." Intrigued, he asked for an example. Emma flipped through her journal. "Mrs. Brennan thinks she's keeping a secret. Every Tuesday and Friday for 8 weeks, she walks to the church at 3:15 p.m., but goes to the rectory for 43 minutes. Father Koller's bought extra candles and wine, and his evening prayers extend by 17 minutes on those days. The correlation is clear." Dr. Müller was stunned by her scandalous implication and methodical documentation. "How long have you done this?" "Always, since I was little." Math made the patterns clearer. "After the exam, doctor," Müller told Hinrich and Greta, "Emma's mind processes information mechanically, like a machine. It's a medical condition, not what people say." But his scientific view didn't ease the dread. 2 days later, Emma predicted, A fire will start at the Zimmerman house Sunday at 8:47 p.m., spreading to 3 neighboring homes. Mr. Zimmerman won't survive. Hinrich pleaded, "How could you know?" Emma consulted her journal. Mr. Zimmerman's been drinking lamp oil with whiskey for 12 days. I saw him buy excessive amounts. His wife left for Chicago yesterday, a pattern before major incidents. Their chimney's damaged. I calculated it from smoke angles and soot. The fire's 93% likely. Greta wept at Emma's cold discussion of tragedy. Hinrich warned Franz Zimmerman, who laughed it off but promised caution. At 8:47 p.m. Sunday, flames engulfed the Zimmerman house, spreading to 3 others. Franz died trying to fight the fire. Emma's precise prediction shocked the community, and Hinrich's warning, overheard by workers, confirmed her role. The Richters were fully ostracized. Emma treated the fire as another data point, adjusting her calculations. The community reeled, housing displaced families and grappling with Emma's predictions. Hinrich's brewery job became impossible. Emma's journal grew more complex, tracking multiple variables and predicting weeks ahead. Greta feared reading it, terrified of what Emma might predict next. On a late April morning, Emma announced, "Something's wrong with the pattern today." Greta trembled. "What do you mean?" Emma checked her journal. Mrs. Brennan always goes to the rectory Tuesdays at 3:15. Today, she left at 2:47 for the river, showing distress. Her steps shortened by 12%, her breathing irregular. She's planning something final. Greta was horrified by Emma's calm prediction of suicide. "Mrs. Brennan's a good woman. The probability's 87%, Emma replied. "Distressed people with pattern changes act within 4 hours. It's been 43 minutes. Greta alerted Hinrich, who found Mrs. Brennan on a dock, staring despairingly at the water. She admitted her shame over an affair with Father Collar and considered ending her life. Hinrich talked her down for 2 hours. When he returned, Emma noted, "Mrs. Brennan didn't act. Your intervention changed the probability. I'll adjust my variables." Hinrich was horrified. She treated his effort as data. That night, he and Greta decided to leave Milwaukee. Emma's predictions had made life impossible, and her emotional detachment from human suffering alarmed them. They planned to escape to a place where Emma's mind wouldn't make her a target. On May 1, 1873, Emma revealed her most shocking discovery. "Papa, my calculations show a pattern explaining everything." Her journal contained charts, maps, and sequences like an investigator's work. "For 26 months, I've tracked 43 adults. 7 men meet secretly every Wednesday at midnight in Kellner's brewery basement. Mr. Steinberg, Wilhelm Weber, Franz Kellner, Hans Zimmerman, Otto Steinberg, Klaus Brennan, Gustav Wolf, and Hermann Kruger. Their patterns, deviations, timing inconsistencies. Physical evidence show organized crime." Hinrich was stunned. "What are you saying?" Emma pointed to her map. "They avoid main streets, meeting consistently for 26 months. They've stolen about $47,000 from the brewery." She explained discrepancies in beer production, deliveries, and spending patterns. Mr. Weber bought $300 furniture. Mr. Steinberg sent money to Germany. All 7 show unexplained wealth. Hinrich realized Emma had uncovered a criminal conspiracy. "The theft needed inside knowledge," Emma added. "Patterns point to Ernst Kellner as the leader. He knows I watch him. 3 weeks ago, he stood outside our house twice at night for 17 minutes, calculating if I know. We're in danger, 84% chance they'll act against us in 72 hours. Hinrich, terrified, shared Emma's journal with Dr. Mueller that night. "If this is true, it's the biggest theft in Milwaukee's history," Mueller said. "But if Kellner suspects Emma knows, you're in mortal danger." He arranged an emergency job offer at a Minnesota brewery, and the Richters fled that night in his wagon. Emma's final prediction haunted Hinrich. In 6 months, the theft will be exposed. Kellner will face justice, but 3 men won't survive. By winter, federal investigators uncovered Kellner's $50,000 theft ring. Wilhelm Weber died in an apparent suicide. Otto Steinberg in a drunken accident, and Hermann Kruger of a suspicious heart attack. Emma's predictions were exact. The Richters vanished from Milwaukee on May 2, 1873, leaving whispers and questions. Dr. Mueller claimed they returned to Bavaria, but no records confirmed this. They settled in New Ulm, Minnesota, where Hinrich worked at a brewery and Greta rebuilt their life. Emma, unchanged, worked with Professor Hermann Weiss, who studied her abilities scientifically. In November 1873, Mueller confirmed Emma's prediction about the theft ring's exposure. Her journal, left with Mueller, revealed she tracked the entire community, predicting events with stunning accuracy. Investigators were awed and disturbed by her methods. Emma's final record appears in New Ulm College's 1875 Mathematics Department notes. Professor Weiss noted her statistical brilliance, but the family relocated again for personal reasons. After that, Emma vanished from history. Some believe families like the Richters hid such children to avoid exploitation or persecution. Her story suggests conditions like savant syndrome or autism spectrum disorders, which modern science understands better than 1873's divine or demonic views. What do you think? Was everything revealed, or did Emma's abilities go further? Share your thoughts and any similar stories in the comments. If you enjoyed this, follow, turn on notifications, and share with mystery lovers. These cases remind us that the scariest truths often hide in plain sight, waiting for a mind like Emma's to calculate their terrible secrets. Her story shows that relentless logic applied to human behavior can uncover truths too dangerous to know, challenging our illusions of privacy